Morning, Andrew.
Morning, Vincent.
Okay, budget day.
Budget day,
We have heard the budget.
Yep.
And keyword for the budget day is sandbagging.
Sandbagging, yes, sandbagging.
We all know sandbag as a noun.
Right.
But in this show, we can use sandbag as a verb.
As a verb, that's right. Okay, so sandbagging, just one more time for people that didn't get it last time. Sandbagging is when a manager kind of says that revenues are going to be terrible, costs are going to be high, therefore this is going to be where we're going to get at the end of the year, and then, usually it has something to do with their bonuses, right? Yep. They said, it's going to be a terrible year. But they actually know that the revenues are going to be higher, costs are probably going to be lower, so that at the end of the year, when the results come out, they look like a star. Yeah. And it's called sandbagging.
It's lowering expectations.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like when there's a flood coming, right?
Yeah.
So you put the sandbag.
Yeah. You're getting ready for something bad to happen.
And you want to make sure people will know that you are very hardworking to put the sandbag.
Yes. Look how prepared I am. And then, but then it doesn't actually happen. So in a piece that we put up on the website, when the budget came out, we call it sandbagging.
Yeah, but you know what? In China, who is responsible for the physical sandbagging, right?
Military usually.
Exactly.
If it's a big enough
the
project.
PLA.
The PLA.
The People's Liberation Army.
So we had here in Hong Kong, John Tang.
Yeah, you see John Tang with a mustache?
He's putting the sandbags up. Yeah, and there was $60 billion worth of sandbags this year. I mean, that was a big surplus, and everybody's been talking about it. And criticizing it, I think justifiably, because on one level, John Tsang is holding the line on this talk about the coming disaster that is going to happen in 2017 when our workforce starts to shrink, and supposedly that'll mean that income taxes will come down, corporate taxes. There's going to be like this, and saving for a rainy day when the economy takes a downturn. But we just have such massive reserves now. David Webb said yesterday it works out to about $200,000 for every man, woman, and child in Hong Kong. The government could literally cut a check tomorrow to every one of us, for $200,000. Forget the $6,000 giveaway. They could do $200,000 a person. That seems like a lot of sandbag
to
protect us.
Hong Kong dollars.
Hong Kong dollars, of course. Yeah. So people are making this criticism. Okay, what else? So, of course, then there's the post-budget reactions. Of course, the government people are all, great job, love it, they have to. And then, of course, the politicians are all hammering down on it, right? And saying, oh, no, this is terrible. Words like outrageous were used. And different people had different criticisms of it, right?
A lot of the politicians try to portray that the chief secretary and the finance secretary did not see eye to eye.
Well,
especially on the youth issues.
Right.
But I think this is out of the point in terms of a budget. Right?
Yeah.
You should focus more on the economic aspects of it.
Well,
Not so much on the political aspects of it. Still, how you spend the taxpayers' money will influence the politics.
Of course.
But it is not an appropriate way to deduce that the FS does not see eye to eye to the chief secretary.
Well, I think there was...
the chief executive.
I was going to say that there's a more obvious discord with the chief executive. And again, it wasn't really even on budgetary issues. Yes. It was about how they approached Occupy Central and John Tsang's comments, which seem much more accommodating towards the aspirations of people's, of the people that were involved in Occupy Central.
I have another theory.
What's that?
That C.Y. Leung wants to be the bad cop.
Okay.
So that you have another good cop.
Yeah.
Because he's not gaining popularity anyway.
Right. So he might as well... He might as well take the hits.
And who cares about the motion of thanks?
Yeah.
Just as you said.
Yeah.
It is
in our
not,
previous show.
It's not even a bill.
Yeah.
But the appropriation bill, which relates to the budget, is so important.
Yeah.
So why didn't John Tsang get the credit?
Yeah.
So that at least when the pandemocrats or the radicals trying to filibuster the budget, this time they have to rethink.
Yeah.
Because I think this is the most popular budget since 2008.
Yes.
According to the latest poll.
Pollings are showing that it's very popular.
So I don't think the Democrats or other pandemocrats are going to filibuster this one.
No, I mean...
because people want the money and they want it as soon as
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
The funny thing about this, though, is a lot of the measures that have the broadest application, things like tax rebates, expansion of the child allowance, they won't kick in for a long time, so filibustering wouldn't make that much difference. It's more like the giveaways, to different industries and things like that, which are not necessarily the pandem's base.
Because they are for the SMEs, I see.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So they
Good
might
analysis.
Yeah, see, I mean, that's it. It's funny because a lot of that kind of stuff, though, and a lot of the criticisms, it was, 4-letter words that begin with the letter F were applied to this budget. I don't think like that. That's not what you guys.
Well, a lot of students watch our show.
Film, food.
Fashion.
Yeah, fashion. A couple extra letters. Fash.
Yes.
4-letter words that begin with the letter F. But those were like little, I totally agree with the criticisms. Like, why are we funding the film industry? Those guys, actors and directors, those guys already make piles of money, and as David, David Webb pointed out, that fund needs more money because they've been making investments that don't pay out. They invest in the crappy films that nobody wants to watch, so why do they keep doing it, right? Food, those were distractions. Those are like $100 million here, $50 million there in this budget where we've got the surplus alone was $60 billion last year. I mean, it's little stuff, right? But it's the big stuff that'll kick in later that makes it so popular, like tax rebates, like I mentioned, the child allowances, things like that.
But overall, the polling is good. So the general sentiment is that they like this budget.
When you have,
I think the Pandemocrats will have to rethink whether they would like to filibuster this one or not.
Yeah. On a political level, when you have $60 billion, it gives you huge room to give things directly to people, broadly speaking, right? And the people that disagree, right? So you've got all these people happy over here. The people that disagree with it are people who tend to disagree with it on principles, like the government should not be taking all that money away from the people in the economy, right?
Well, having said that, I have
like me,
I have one more point.
Sure.
I think this budget has not taken care of the people what they call they got nothing.
The triple N's.
The multiple N's now.
Yes. Yeah.
They used to be the triple N's.
Yeah.
But as long as more goodies are given away, now the N becomes bigger.
Yeah. And they're trying to. I think there was some talk of like putting more money into the community care fund to apply to those people.
The community care fund, short form CCF.
Yeah.
I think, given that the FS, with its history of always sandbagging.
Yeah.
He now said, for the next 5 years, there will be a surplus.
Yeah.
And given the whole economy is going to be more or less the same structure in the next 5 years, I think the multiple N's population is going to stay. They may not increase, but there will be a certain percentage of the population will become the multiple N. The sector, I would say, or stratum.
Yeah.
So it won't be unwise,
right,
that to allocate, let's say, 1.5% or 2.5% of the surplus to the CCF.
Right, yes. It's very...
And make it regular. So if the economy goes really well, we have surplus, and we always realize that as long as the economy is doing good, there will be multiple N's strata.
The no-end people,
So, and we could not come up with ways to give them money. But since there's a CCF, then we'll give a certain percentage, let's say 1.5% or 2.5%, to the CCF and let them decide what is best for the multiple N strata.
Yes. Well, the thing that's so difficult about those people is that they exist as a category. We've created these terms because they are difficult to target. That is what defines them, is they're difficult to target. You cut taxpayers, you get a break. Okay, good, you've taken care of taxpayers. These people are not taxpayers. You cut rates for property owners. These people are not in that category.
You cut electricity bill for them, and they don't pay for their own electricity. Some of them,
quite often, you double
by the rent.
Yeah, you double the bonuses for everybody getting welfare of one form or another.
And that's why these people don't get it. That's why they have the CCF.
Yeah, and then the CCF theoretically should be able to target those people, but there's only so much you can do in terms of trying to target people. There's always going to be somebody that puts their hand up and says, "I didn't get anything." Like me, for example, I'm not a property owner. I'm paying rent. Small business, right? So I'm not getting a break on taxes. Although my wife,
You have kids.
I have kids, but I don't pay tax. Child allowance doesn't matter, but my wife does. So I guess our family will benefit. But if you're a business owner, you're not paying But presumably, I guess, if I get a drop in the corporate profits tax, supposedly that'll come back to me.
But you are the middle class. I'm talking about the
poor people.
I think it may not be unwise. I'm just saying. Yeah. Like 1.5 to 2.5% of the surplus.
Yeah.
To the poorest of the poor of Hong Kong. I mean, it's just politically so correct that I think FS can make it a policy.
Yeah.
And then his popularity will shoot up the roof.
Well, there you go. And this, there were actually some people at the end of all this, just to wrap it up and put a political bow on it, because this is a show about politics, not necessarily finance.
Economics, yeah.
But politically, very, as you said, very popular. Some people were even asking if he might want to run for chief executive, and he was kind of like, I want that job.
He said, I have answered it many times.
Yes, and his answer is consistently no, and I think that's probably wise for him, because there's a huge track record around the world of great finance ministers stepping into the top job and failing miserably and ruining their legacy. John Song, again, very popular budget, broadly speaking, although the pundits are criticizing, and I think that he's probably going to take that as a win this year.
But I think if you have such a surplus, I mean, it's not that difficult to become popular.
Yeah, you can spread that around. You can spread all that largesse around.
I have a huge question mark.
Whether
John Tsang, when he becomes the chief executive,
which is not good, but
a very big if as well, then he will be so popular again, because it's a very good time to be the financial secretary right
now. Yes. Well, that's a bit of a Hong Kong tradition, but as I said, I think he'll take this one as a win, and I think that years from now, the question I always have in the back of my mind is that, 10 years from now, when the demographic crunch does hit, are people going to look back and say, wow, he took a lot of heat for running up those surpluses, but we're glad we have it now. What a genius. Saved Hong Kong. Or if somebody will come after him and just turn that into a big political slush fund and blow it out, and we'll be like, why did he take all that money out of the economy just so this jerk could spend it all? So we'll have, but we don't know. 10 years from now, we'll see.
All right,
looking way ahead. All right, thanks, Vincent.
Cheers.